A lone voice crackled through the static of Midnight Falls radio, its timbre low and urgent as though it carried secrets too heavy for daylight. Listeners huddled by glowing dials in cramped kitchens and behind bleary office screens. Drawn in by the surreal spectacle unfolding overhead, a sudden surge of fireballs cleaving the ink-black firmament, each a molten scar across the heavens. "And I looked when he opened the sixth seal," the announcer intoned, quoting Revelation 6:12 with a gravity that shivered through every bone, then fell silent, letting the roar of the unseen meteorites speak their own portent. Even seasoned astronomers, surveying this month's unexpectedly intense June Tauride swarm, have conceded there is something anomalous in the trajectorist fragments decelerating against Earth's pull, as if guided by some unearthly hand. Behind the scenes, technical commentary flashes on data feeds, ground-based sensors registering electromagnetic pulses, civilian apps reporting strange auroral glows over rural Kentucky and Eastern Europe. Yet for everyone tuning in, the cold logic of charts and equations is only a prelude to the awestruck hush that follows each bright streak. Who or what is invoking these omens tonight? Analyzing historic records reveals uncanny parallels with sightings from 1917 and the apocalyptic fever that gripped wartime Europe, when prophecies of celestial upheaval sparked mass panic. Now in early 2025, as global tensions simmer and climate anomalies mount, the radio's warning feels less like folklore and more like a final something vast has awakened, and its first act is written in fire across our skies. For those late-night souls pressed against the tuner, that single broadcast becomes both microscope and mirror, forcing a question as cold and clear as the void above. Are we gazing at mere cosmic coincidence, or the overture to an end that was always coming? A tremor of anticipation rippled through Dr. Miriam Foster. Clutered studied the moment the courier placed the ancient scroll fragment before her, its edges singed as though it had survived both sandstorms and fires across centuries. Here was the theologian whose tireless analyses of apocalyptic literature had earned her acclaim at Cambridge and beyond, yet nothing had prepared Miriam for a text explicitly dated year 2025. Beneath her fingertips, the faded ink revealed lines that echoed the dread rhythm of Revelations for horseman conquest, war, famine, and death, but with a new singular warning scrawled between the margins. The seventh moon bleeds. The phrase pulsed with uncanny vitality, resonating against the backdrop of last month's unprecedented lunar crimson observed by amateur astronomers in South America, and corroborated by the latest imagery from NASA's Artemis Lunar Orbiter. Objective commentary on paleographic studies confirms that the handwriting matches Middle Eastern scribal schools of the 4th century, yet the parchment itself, tested by leading labs in Berlin and Tokyo, yields a molecular signature no earlier than 100 years ago, suggesting an origin steeped in modern forgery, or more disturbingly, time-bending prophecy. Miriam's heart thundered as she cross-referenced seismic data. 2 weeks ago, 3 minor quakes rattled the Sinai Peninsula, each coinciding with a full moon. As she spoke aloud her initial translation, her voice quavered. On that bloody moon, the earth shall crack its vow. Even seasoned peers admit they've never encountered language so precisely calibrated to current. Events, climate-induced soil liquefaction, erratic tectonic tremors, and now mounting geopolitical unrest in the region. Yet amid the clinical certainty of carbon dating and spectral analysis lies a narrative, so charged with portent that it demands dramatic attention. As Miriam leans back, the dim lamplight flickering over her notes, she realizes this fragment is not merely a relic to be catalogued, but a siren call urgent, raw, and inexorably tied to the world we inhabit today. And in that charged silence, the scholar knows she must decide, dismiss it as a hoax, or sound the alarm that history and perhaps humanity may be poised on the precipice of its seventh reckoning. A pall of unease settled over the globe as the latest satellite imagery released just last week by the European Space Agency captured solar flares of such intensity they scorched the sun's surface like molten tattoos, sending tongues of plasma lancing toward Earth's fragile shield. At the same moment, veterinarians in Brazil and birdwatchers in Canada were stunned by mass die-offs of waterfowl, their lifeless wings strewn along riverbanks as if dropped by some invisible hand. In one thread of this unfolding mystery, Dr. Raj Patel, geophysicist, whose peer-reviewed paper in Nature, Geoscience detailed unprecedented fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field warns that compass needles in his lab spun, erratically registering deviations up to 5 degrees, a phenomenon without modern precedent. Yet, across towns and cities, the objective data of seismographs and spectrometers only half explain the terror gripping hearts. In another vein, Pastor Ellie James, whose clandestine sermons circulate in whispered audio clips online, has drawn a growing underground congregation convinced these cosmic convulsions mirror the prophecies of old. Her voice, both gentle and fervent, insists that when heaven trembles, so too does the soul of man. And then came the final act. At precisely 3:07 UTC last night, an unexplained blackout snuffed out lights from Vancouver to Vienna to Vladivostok, 3 continents, plunged into darkness for exactly 7 minutes each, tick of the clock echoing like a requiem. Power grids hummed back to life as suddenly as they died. Yet no cause was ever logged, transformers unharmed, satellites untroubled. And yet the world collectively exhaled into a silence that felt, somehow, like a held breath. As scientists and seers parse every anomaly, one question looms. Are these dissonant signs merely natural extremes, or the overtures of a cosmic crescendo we have no choice but to heed? A tense hush fell over millions of viewers on June 20th, 2025, as a panel of experts assembled on Global News Network to dissect the strange convergence of celestial and terrestrial anomalies, one meteorologist calmly attributing the mass bird fatalities and solar flare spikes to natural atmospheric oscillations, while across the table a renowned biblical historian countered that the very patterns mirrored time-worn prophecies, suggesting an otherworldly design at work behind the polished studio lights. Dr. Miriam Foster bristled at Dr. Raj Patel's clinical dismissal of anything beyond empirical data, her voice cutting through the sterile commentary as she accused him of willfully ignoring the spiritual dimensions encrypted in the newly surfaced manuscript. Raj, fingers steepled, shot back that obsession with end-times lore risked blinding humanity to solvable crisis magnetic surveys. After all, we're signaling not divine wrath but dangerous shifts in Earth's core currents that demanded urgent scientific response. Then the segment broke for live testimony. On screen, a grieving mother from rural Oklahoma recounted how last month's freak red whirlwind storm, recorded on local Doppler and witnessed by dozens, had snatched her husband and child in seconds, leaving no logical explanation, but a community riven between grief and awe. Objective data streams alongside, her sobs, wind speed graphs, radar loops, climate model projections offered cold facts, yet they failed to quell the raw dread in her words. It felt like the sky itself had turned on us. In that charged moment, the debate transcended academic rigor. Science and faith collided in real time, each demanding precedence as the world watched, uncertain which voice to believe. And as the camera panned back to the panelists, the studio lights flickered just for a heartbeat. Certainty may be nothing more than a fleeting illusion. A shiver of foreboding crept into every line of the battered manuscript when Dr. Foster's latest translation revealed a hidden cipher. 7 ominous sign days mapped out in cryptic glyphs, their final crescendo marked on October 15, 2025, a date that now glows in red on every calendar of those who dare to read it. Even the most skeptical historians admit the code's linguistic structure matches ancient Near Eastern apocalyptic traditions. Yet its precision rivals modern digital timestamps. As word spread, Pastor Ellie James called her followers to a clandestine midnight vigil this past Saturday, hours ago by our clocks, where thunder rolled, not from storm clouds, but seemed summoned by unseen forces as congregants' chants swelled into the night. In the vault-like hush between verses, a low, resonant voice recited Isaiah 24:23. Then the moon will be confounded, and the sun, ashamed its timbre, neither wholly human nor machine. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Dr. Raj Patel's seismic arrays registered a subtle, rhythmic pulse emanating from the planet's mantle, an exact temporal match to the vigil's 7th invocation. Objective data from USGS and the International Seismological Center confirm these microtremors are unprecedented in pattern and periodicity, echoing beneath disparate fault lines from California's San Andreas to Turkey's North Anatolian Rift. Yet for those present at the vigil, the readings mattered less than the electric crackle in the air as phones and watches flickered, counting down to what many now fear is an inevitable apocalypse. With each verified anomaly, astronomical, geological, and theological questions multiply. Are we merely witnesses to a rare confluence of natural extremes? Or is there a design threading these events together, a countdown scripted centuries ago yet unfolding in real time? As October edges closer, the world stands on a knife's edge, torn between data charts and hallowed verses, uncertain whether to prepare for revelation or redemption or something far darker still. A hollow silence settled over Cambridge the night Dr. Foster's world unraveled her husband. Thomas, a hardened skeptic who had sneered at every prophecy until he whispered in terror, "I saw the horsemen," simply vanished from their flat, leaving behind only his overturned chair and a scrap of parchment bearing a single word: prepare. Objectively, local police reports logged no signs of forced entry or struggle, and his phone's last GPS ping placed him near an abandoned quarry outside the city at precisely 2:23 a.m. A site now crawling with drone-mounted thermal cameras deployed by the university's security team. Yet for Miriam, the cold data mattered little next to the knot in her chest. Torn between safeguarding her hard-earned academic reputation and plunging headlong into the supernatural abyss her husband claimed to glimpse, as headlines this morning confirmed #Cambridge mystery trending globally, and investigative journalists flooding the campus gates, she felt the fraying edges of her world snap. Then, just as the dawn broke over her desk strewn with carbon dating reports and spectral analyses of the apocalyptic manuscript, her phone buzzed, a coded text, untraceable and flawless in its brevity: "Trust no one, not even God." That message, both accusation and warning, pulsed like a second heartbeat, marking Miriam's point of no return. A solar storm blinked alongside satellite feeds of unexplained auroras over northern Europe, as though cosmic forces conspired to underscore her plight. Now, with every logical explanation evaporating under the weight of personal betrayal and cosmic mystery, Miriam must decide: cling to the pillars of reason, or heed the call of a darkness that has already claimed the skeptic she loved. The fracture in her faith may be the only thing standing between humanity and the revelations or horrors that lie beyond the next seal. A low fog curled around the spires of St. Severin's Monastery as Dr. Foster, Dr. Patel, Pastor James, and a smattering of wary pilgrims ascended its serpentine path, each driven by fragments of prophecy and data that led them here. The very desert stronghold where the year 2025 manuscript first surfaced, the candlelit nave to a trapdoor hidden behind the altar's aged icon, an objective oversight according to the latest architectural survey of the UNESCO-protected site, yet apparently overlooked until now. With a joint effort, they heaved the stone lid aside, and a hush fell as they peered into the chamber below. Frescoed walls, their pigments still vivid despite the ravages of time, depicted horses charging through cosmic storms, a bleeding moon, and robed figures raising lanterns toward a fissure the size of a cathedral. Each scene meticulously dated 2025. In script that carbon dating labs in Zurich and Kyoto confirm was applied within the last decade. Using mineral compounds unknown in medieval palettes, the air trembled with the echo of whispered translations. Here begins the convergence, here ends the veil. Even Raj's seismic monitors, brought along for empirical backup, registered a tremor beneath their boots, matching last week's microquake cluster beneath the nearby fault line, Omega. Now, under heightened NASA scrutiny for its unexplained uptick in activity, as thunder split the sky and candle flames guttered, Miriam's breath caught on a word half-formed. Was this hidden vault a literal threshold to an apocalypse, or merely a metaphor carved by unknown hands? She exchanged a glance with Ellie, whose fervent eyes reflected both doubt and hope, and Raj, whose stoic facade trembled in sync with the earth. Above them, the fresco of a horn-blowing seraph seemed to sneer down, and Miriam whispered into the charged silence, "Is this the end, or just the beginning?" A sudden, searing flash tore through the storm-racked sky above St. Severin's, as though reality itself had been scorched by a divine spotlight, and in that incandescent instant, every raindrop, every quivering leaf, froze in suspended animation. Then came the horn, a single soul-rattling blast that reverberated through bone and stone with a depth no human-made instrument could replicate, registered even on Raj Patel's high-sensitivity infrasound detectors as a waveform far beyond anything catalogued in the World Acoustic Archive. For a heartbeat, the world was mute. Storm clouds solidified into a silent dome. The monastery's ancient bells stilled, and the chanting of Pastor Ellie James's congregants poised to call down celestial mercy, cut off mid. In that pregnant pause, choices crystallized with crystalline clarity. Raj, eyes wide with a scientist's urgent curiosity, fumbled for his camera and data pads, determined to capture every fluctuation in electromagnetic fields as satellites from SpaceX's Starlink constellation blinked in and out of anomalous alignment overhead. Ellie, face uplifted, arms reaching skyward, surrendered wholly to the moment. Her worshipful cry melding with the horn's final echo as if inviting a presence she had long believed imminent. Meanwhile, Dr. Miriam Foster advanced alone into the flickering candlelight, the vellum pages of the apocalyptic manuscript trembling in her grasp. Each step tore at the frail barrier between observer and participant, reason and revelation. Her voice, when it came, was both a scholar's study and a prophet's roar. He who stands, let him endure. The words, carved centuries ago yet freshly inked in urgency, ricocheted against the chamber walls, fracturing the silence like shards of stained glass. Objective readings streamed in real time to global data centers in OAA confirmed geomagnetic storms of unprecedented intensity, while ESA spectrometers detected high-energy particles raining down on the polar auroras, painting the night skies of Scandinavia in blood-red curtains. Yet for those huddled in the underground chapel, such empirical proof was secondary to the visceral truth unfolding before their eyes. The boundary between science and scripture had vanished in that blinding flash, leaving only a raw, unanswerable question hung on. Miriam's last echoing phrase, as tremors rippled through the ground, each tremor timestamped and geolocated by the USGS, the assembled few sensed that whatever had been unleashed was neither strictly natural nor wholly supernatural, but something that demanded endurance beyond faith or reason alone. And in that charged aftermath, as the horn's resonance faded into the charged hush, every heart asked the same silent question. When the final seal has fallen, will we still be standing? A strange stillness settled over the world in the days that followed the seventh seal as thunderous climax, as if creation itself paused to take stock of what had been unleashed. Fields once charred by those unseen fires now sprouted emerald shoots overnight, while in other regions, entire forests lay untouched, their ancient canopies eerily silent against the hum of NOAA's latest climate monitors reporting unprecedented swings in temperature and rainfall patterns. Urban landscapes to bore the marks of that cosmic rupture, street lamps flickering with an otherworldly glow even as power grids hummed back online, and satellite imagery from ESA's Copernicus program revealing subtle shifts in river courses and mountain profiles that defied any known seismic explanation. Yet beneath the objective data and shifting topography lay a quieter, more urgent mystery. In a sun-drenched courtyard of a refugee camp erected for those displaced by the week's bizarre storms, a child unearthed a shard of vellum, half buried in dust, its jagged edge inked with a single chilling word. 2026. Experts at the Vatican's secret archives in Tokyo's Paleography Institute have already begun analyzing its fiber composition. But the tentative conclusion is the same as before. This fragment is no relic of the past, but a harbinger of what's yet to come. As scholars argue over its authenticity, and climatologists scramble to model the implications of another Sunday on the horizon, a faint horn seems to sigh through wind-tossed streets and over silent plains, its mournful echo captured in grainy videos trending on every social platform. Listeners who once tuned in for answers now find themselves holding their breath over the next broadcast, hearts pounding with the realization that apocalypse is not a single event, but a cycle, and that the world may have only just begun to turn its final page. Will we be ready when the horn calls us back?